welcome to another one of my videos. This time it's going to be one on carers again. I tend to do videos on carers, even though I raise awareness on mental health in general. Just a quick introduction, to be honest. I also do stuff on I have a newspaper on mental health, a blog site, caringmindblog.com, and Twitter channel, a few other things as well. But I've not done a mental health carers video, and this is concerning avoiding being a token carer. This also applies to those using the services that, you can say service user or mental health patient. And I think this is quite important, really, because as a carer or a patient going to consultation meetings or being on involvement, which I'll describe a bit about later on, these things that I'm going to mention you should be aware of, otherwise could be taken advantage of. What I mean by token is just being there for to be shown that you're there as a label, I suppose. Oh, we've got a carer there, or we have a service user at that meeting, so therefore that meeting was held in the interest of all service users, and the mental health carer who is at this meeting, who works on this project with us, is doing this to make a difference for all mental health carers or patients. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long because I do ramble on a bit and I want to try and get to the point. Basically, this video is about avoiding being a token carer on involvement or at meetings. And this doesn't have to be involvement. When I talk about involvement, it's usually with not just mental health trusts, it's also with other organisations. Could be even with councils, could be with commissioning. They basically ask those who've had experience of providing support or care to those in mental health distress. And what I mean by a care, I know I've mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but it's a carer is someone, usually perhaps, or sometimes in the family, they're caring for someone who's suffering mental health distress, or sometimes physical health problems as well. Carers are unpaid, they are not care workers. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first. And I've been a carer for many, many years and still am caring. But involvement, basically what involvement is, most mental health trusts usually ask every so often that if you've been caring for someone, we have specific projects which we would like your views on, or which you would perhaps get involved with, hence the term involvement. Some pay for carers and service users to air their views, give ideas on a project, attend meetings, perhaps even at management level. And it's not just mental health trusts, it's other agencies. Health Watch is another one. Commissioning meetings from those who invest or buy up health services. Stuff even from the council. The council could run meetings. I'm not saying that they're all bad and they all seek to deceive people, but these are things that I'm going to mention you should watch out for. And I'm going to break things down in, a list in some sense, so that way I'm going to try and make it as basic as possible. So, okay, these are the things to watch out for in order to stop being like a token, like you're just there because you're there. You're not there to make a difference. You're not there to be listened to. You're not there to be valued for your experience. That's what I mean by perhaps being a token. The worst part of being a token is that you might have done it, attended that meeting or worked on that project with a health professional or someone who is a staff member regarding changes in services, and they seek perhaps to silence you, make it very difficult for you to perhaps air your views. It's not just you, a number of carers or a number of service users You go there, and it's perhaps the end result is a waste of time. But let's get on further to this. Advertising for a meeting or a specific, very important meeting regarding service change. You turn up to that meeting, you see few carers there, hardly any at all, and you question why. Why was this not really advertised? And then you do begin to wonder, look, I've always gone to these meetings, I'm always the one that's there, where's everyone? That's one of the reasons where they feel you're likely to turn up. They don't advertise it hardly. So again, it seems to be like it's not really a meeting you feel it's going to make a lot of difference. Another one is you're outnumbered. I've been to some, most of the times I've been to meetings where it's been that way. You're absolutely outnumbered from the start. Not just outnumbered, but outgunned. As a carer, I'd go to a meeting, and you're surrounded by health professionals who know their stuff. They know their stuff. They really are good. As soon as you say something like, this is alright, I can't speak for all carers, but this is my view, straight away, no, sorry, that's not going to work in our services. We appreciate that you're coming from a background being a mental health carer, but we are the health professionals, and we know what is right, and your views won't work. And you're looking around the room thinking, well, all right, come on, where's a carer that's going to help me out? Because I know some other mental health carer has been through this situation. You're outnumbered. So that's another reason that you need to watch out for. If you're trying to avoid being a token, there's going to be times when you will be the only carer there, and you'll just have to battle. But that does happen. Other ones would be lack of interest. Sometimes you get these meetings where you think, where's management? Where's the senior person that makes the decisions? Where are they? I've come to these meetings time and time again, and they're no show. And then finally, when they show up, they're perhaps looking at some notes and they're shuffling their papers around and doing all sorts of stuff. And you're sitting back thinking, well, all right, I've waited time and time again for the senior management to show up, and they're showing a lack of interest. It's more than one, and they're just looking at the watch. They're thinking, well, when's it time for me to go and do the project that I was going to work upon? So therefore you feel, well, hang on a second, I feel like I'm a token because they just don't seem to be interested. Even if you're not saying anything, you want to hear what they've got to say. They just don't show any interest of being there at all. So therefore you feel that if they don't want to be there, then why should I be there? Alright, here's another one. This is a difficult one. And this is the reason why I put this up there, Triangle of Care. I usually have them when I'm doing carer awareness videos, is that it's mentioned in one of the guidelines for carers who are seeking to get involved in the mental health trust. And what I mean by mental health trust is that it's a series of hospitals working together to provide mental health services in the community. And as I've mentioned before, most do involvement for service users and carers. Now this is a good one. Bar set too high. I've mentioned this in one of my other videos regarding that they like you to come to a meeting, they like to hear your views, but then they sort of set the bar so high that when you say something, you're thinking this is not the place for it. So this is like a quite high level management meeting. They're asking, have you seen these forms regarding these procedures? They hand you over a 100-page document, go away and read that. And you're thinking, what the hell? You just do not have the resources to air your views as a carer, which is going to make a big difference. And this can be quite common. So you're just there as a token because they know full well you're going to fail. So I'd advise carers, mental health carers, go through the guidelines of the Triangle of Care. And there's other strategies, doesn't always have to be Triangle of Care, but they do make a good point. I mean, you've got Enson as well. What you don't want when you go into meetings like that is that you're untrained, they don't train you, you feel unskilled, you feel out of your depth. And that's what I mean by bar set too high. What else? I think one of the biggest one of the most common one is that you're not rewarded. You go to these meetings, get involved in a project, and at the back of your mind you think, how much is this person, the senior person, getting paid to do their job? And it's not always about money, to be honest. I know it comes up time and time again, but you feel there's no incentive to actually just turn up. And I know a lot of carers are passionate enough to do it free. I do quite a lot of stuff for free, huge amount of stuff for free. But you do like to be some incentive to say, look, come along. Not only do we value your opinion, we value you being there. And I think one of the worst scenarios is that you spill your guts on a project for perhaps 6, 10 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, and you feel like you've been taken advantage of. And I think the worst thing that could happen from that is if the project is very successful, funding is cut, the staff member who was pushing for that project, they get the recommendation, they get the reward, they're in all the media saying, look, I've done this and I was championing this, and you don't get a mention at all. I'm not saying this happened to me, but I'm aware it does happen to carers, mental carers, who got involvement, they spill their guts out, even though they should be obviously caring as well, and there's no recognition. You're there as a token, so watch out for that. You don't want to spill your guts out for a project, almost kill yourself, and they use you. Yeah. Another one is the environment. They're held in a venue that's not fit for purpose. So even though this is not really a big issue, but it can be off-putting. You're held in any meeting held in the back room, poor lighting, hardly any refreshments, no courtesy. So you feel like, hang on, if it's not inviting, I don't really want to be here. It's like if they value you, they would find another venue where it's got adequate, it's an adequate environment, it's good seating, a nice table, something like that. They're not asking for luxury, not asking to be a Mayfair hotel or anything like that. But they should at least provide a nice, quiet environment for you to sort of get your views. And I know, again, I can't always blame those who are being hit by a lot of cuts at the moment. They're not always going to find a particular venue. Sometimes they can't find anything, so they're having to meet at cafes. This has happened to me a few times. They can't find anywhere to hold a meeting. Oh, this one's awful. I've been through this. Let's say you're passionate carer, you've been through the worst it can possibly be when you're trying to help someone close suffering mental health problems. You go to these meetings, you've got a reputation of getting your views across, not just carers, service users as well. I can't be that unfair, but I'm speaking as a carer, and I know a lot of carers have been through this. So you're well known for going to meetings, you've been very courteous, you don't try to take over the meeting, you don't shout, you don't blame. But then sometimes you get the feeling that when you turn up to an event or meeting, it's like, you get this feeling, oh no, it's not him again, oh no, it's not her again, oh, what are they going to say, what are they going to do? Even though they're not known for speaking their mind, and they really are polite, and this does happen. And the reason this does happen because, unfortunately, the health professional knows that this carer or service user knows something is up. So they're attending that meeting to see, look, are they doing as they're saying they're going to do? And they tend to sort of get pushed out, these carers. So that's, even though I'm not saying this is an example of tokenism, it is something that does happen to, unfortunately, carers who want to make a difference, and they get those looks They get those looks from those holding the meeting, saying, "Oh no, what's he doing there?" And I'll get into body language in a second, because I think that's very important. That's something you need to watch out for. Another reason of being a token carer, which you've got to watch out for, is you feel like you're being pushed out. And this is very serious. It can be used against you if you've been around a while, and there is no danger of you even staying put, to sort of say, look, you know, I know my stuff and I know what the community want, because for a start, I'm just saying this as an example, but you're a carer, you have your own group you feed back to, several of them, and there needs to be a link to what a mental health trust is doing. There needs to be something that goes out into the community. But then you get, this is very sneaky, it happens, but then you get the situation, and it applies to service users as well. Someone will come up to you one day and say, look, you've been here a long while, and you know, it's time to move on. It's very bad if you stay here in involvement too long. And to a point, they are right. What you don't want is someone almost being employed on involvement. But the big difference is that usually when you talk about involvement, you're not really paid. You're paid a pittance, most. You know, I'm not saying every trust does this, but a lot of people do volunteer their time. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is dangerous, because if you apply this to staff, and I know the NHS is suffering when it comes to experienced staff, experienced consultants who've been there a long while. They know the territory, they know the community, they know the streets, if you know what I mean. Having them moving on, a particular person from a trust saying, "Look, that's time for me to go," can damage the trust, it can damage the services. So if you apply that to an experienced carer or experienced service user who knows the streets, they walk the streets, they know what is going on the wards, they know what's going on in the services, and they've been there for some time, been there for 5 years, giving their views. They're courteous, they're comfortable, they've got their own work, so it's not like they even need to be there in the first place. And I'm not applying this to me, this is what I've seen over my 5 years of involvement, not just at trusts. And then you get someone come up to you and say, "You've been here a long while now, it's unhealthy for you, you should move on." And the reason they say this is because, again, there's a little threat that this person, this carer, has seen a pattern, and they're probably about to say something which probably would be documented, to say, "Look, something's very wrong here, and I'm going to point this out to someone that someone's not really doing as they should be doing, or they're meant to be doing." If you lose someone like that who knows the territory, and I know a few people who are very, very good, they've been around for years, but then they get pushed out because the powers that be say, "Look, it's unhealthy for them to be here too long, they should move on." But the problem is they know the stuff. In fact, they should really be staff. It's controversial, but if someone knows this stuff, why are they not employed? This is coming back from NSAM. You can only involve carers and services for so long to say, "Look, you're a vital resource." And after a while, when they build up that knowledge, they should be employed, don't you think? Considering that the NHS is losing very skilled staff at a large rate, because I know it's a situation where agencies tend to grab them. Alright, enough of that. Let's look at something called involvement excuses. This is related to, I suppose, logical arguments. Very hard to spot them, but also very important, because it sort of flags up to say, and if someone says this to you, which I'm going to mention, it'll sort of hint to say, "I'm only here as a token." But I'm going to mention them anyway. You can think about what I'm going to say as you like, but please be aware, when you do go to these meetings, watch out for these particular type of behaviour. So, like, the first one I would say is, alright, this is a good one actually. I've experienced this. And those who lobby for change in the services say they've been through this as well. So when you're meeting management, maybe, it doesn't have to be management, but then you say something regarding carers, which you've seen time and time again, then they turn and say, well, our carers don't think so. And I'm going to repeat that again. You say something to say, look, I've experienced this as a carer, and I think if you go ahead with this proposal, you're going to affect carers in this way. And they reply, oh, our carers don't think so. Notice the emphasis on our. And you look around the room and say, well, okay, where is your carers? Do you see what I mean? And that's an example of, oh, hang on, should I even be at this meeting? Should I make that, and perhaps you should keep pushing that agenda. Perhaps you could jump over the person's head and say, what's all this about our carers? Who's this our carers? Only this person is making an excuse. So watch out for that. And they're saying, oh, it's our volunteers are saying this, and it's our service users are saying that, and they all disagree with what you're saying. So don't mention these things. You're out of your place. Those type of excuses. And this is a hard one I'm going to mention, and it's very difficult to spot. But you get the idea that they're, and I got this actually from a carer, I call him a carer comrade actually. He tends to turn up to a lot of meetings, but he knows full well when people are not talking to you, but talking down at you. Not always easy to spot. You sometimes have to go to a few meetings to sort of recognise, well, hang on a second, this conversation isn't as it seems, as if I know someone's actually talking to me. It's like they're sort of saying, oh, well, I think this, and, perhaps you're not getting this idea right. You feel like you're actually talking to a teacher, if you know what I mean. Not to say this is always a bad thing. Sometimes they do know what's best, and I'm saying sometimes, but it's the way it's put across. Happens too often, then you know for sure you're just there as a token. Alright, this is a good one, something that I despise and should have no place in the services. You're there to attend a meeting to air your views as a carer. You raise up an important point which you feel, look, this is not happening in the community. And if I was to sum this up in one word, I would say it's being defensive. What this person would say is, oh, I don't think this happens in the services. This isn't something I'm aware of. But then there's one big difference, is the person who's saying this isn't running the service. So why are they being defensive? Do you get what I mean? You have a facilitator there, sent there to get your views. Could be, in fact, a huge number of carers there, and they're all saying the same thing time and time again, perhaps 50 of them. Facilitator says, well, I've not heard of this. This is not a problem in the services. And yet, all the carers looking at each other saying, well, this person isn't even involved in that area of the service, so why are they saying this? Prime example of you being there as a token. This one's quite interesting. You go to a meeting or a project, you've probably been there working for, getting involved for some time, and then things are not working out. So you take a deep breath, meeting comes up, you're there, and then you perhaps make a statement saying, look, I've been on this project for some time, something's not right, you're not going forward. And then they sort of use this, it's a tactic actually. They'll question you. So I'll try and think of an example, like you say, look, where's the funding for this project? And then the person will reply, well, we've been providing you funding, but by the way, what funding do you mean? And you say, well, we were promised this amount of money to provide this project. And they say to you, what do you mean about this project? And you say, well, the project's regarding care involvement in this particular area. And then they keep saying, well, what area? And then you say, well, the area regarding this service. You even give the name of the service, and they say, well, what service? And you're scratching your head. Come on, it's documented. You know I work on the project. I'm not saying this happened to me. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. So they're questioning and questioning and questioning, and you're providing the answers, and you're not getting anywhere. You're not getting anywhere. What are you meant to say? You're going round in circles. You see what I mean? So therefore, you know you're there as a token. Yeah, you're there as almost a cover up. Very bad. If this keeps happening, and a lot of services involvement just comes to a standstill and money's wasted. This is awful. Next one I'm going to mention, and it happens a lot. It's no place in the services. Before I mention this one, I would like to point out that no matter how long you've cared for, you are a carer. I know some people don't like the term carer. All right, I admit it. But you know your stuff. You've been through it. Don't be denied that experience, and don't let anyone turn around and say, "Oh, you're not a carer," because as soon as they say that, your rights get infringed upon. Carers have rights, and one day we'll do a video about the Care Act, because if you didn't have rights, why are they making a Family and Care Act 2014? What's the point of that? So here we go. You go to a meeting, you say, this is my experiences. You're not really shouting, you're not being rude, you're just saying this is my experience, and perhaps if you're going to run a project, or if you're going to go forward with this proposal, please take that into account. I'm sure it's coming by the care. And then the response you get is, well, we are the professionals. You know, how you can't really be telling us how to do our job. I'm not saying that what that person said is wrong, but if that happens on the wrong reasons, or too often, and you know, you go to me and you say your views as a carer, or as a service user as well, so having the service user involvement, NSUN will say this. Triangle of Care will say this. And you're there again, being paid, just attending the meeting, saying, look, this is what I think, this is what happened to me as a carer, I'm sure the carers have experienced this, and then you get the feeling that, oh, don't tell us what to do. We are the professionals. We know how things run for carers. This strategy is wrong, because we know what we're doing, and you're just here because you're just here. That is extreme, I've got to admit, from what I've just said, but you do get the feeling that, hang on a second, I've been caring for quite a long time. And even for new carers who are not sure of their path, but yet, you know, they've taken their time to come to me and say, look, this is what I've been through, and I've looked through what you've said on this document. Please be note there are other alternatives, or you say, if you can include in your proposal, you know, what I feel might be useful. And they just say, well, we know this is not right. We're not going to look at what you say. You feel like, well, what's the point of me coming here? And also, it's again, it's not really involvement, is it? You feel like it's hard enough being a carer, and yet you're going over to try and get your views. You feel like you're being bullied, basically. All right. This is a difficult one to spot, because it's usually, you know, the term lies and statistics. It's a tough one, this one I'm going to mention, because it can be unproven. You've noticed something and you're trying to think out of the box. And as a carer, you turn up to a meeting, you presented with these views, you like stats or something like that. And you say to them, well, hang on a second, I've experienced this, or I've noticed this. But then they provide you with some stats and say, look, well, the majority disagrees with you. So how can you experience this? You see what I mean? So you feel like you're out your depth, and you wonder why you're there. You look around the room, you don't really see any other carers. You're thinking, oh, where are they? And then they pinpoint you out in the room and say, well, you say you've experienced this, but I'm afraid the stats are saying the majority doesn't agree with you. But that does not discount, what you've gone through as a carer. And again, you know, I'm not a service user, but I'm aware this does happen to patients and service users, you know, who tend to meet. And, you know, we've got to be fair. We're all in this together. The whole point of being a triangle care. Everyone talking to each other, health professional, care and service user. And I know some people disagree with me. You know, there is cases when the majority is right, but then not always. If you look at history, you know, this was perhaps used as a prime example for almost everything, because people have always done things this way. It must always have been right. But if you study history and really look at the problems of the majority against the minority, bad things can happen and will continue to happen unless there's a change in a particular policy or on environment, or a change of thought, or just doing something different. You know, you're always going to get the same results if you keep doing the same thing time and time and time again. It happens a lot. It's very common. Lack of options is how I could sum this up. It's the either or. Like, you go to a consultation, funding is being cut. You know it's being cut. You're not really going to have the wool pulled over your eyes. And you turn up and you say to them, yeah, I'm aware of resource problems, but as a carer, perhaps if you could include this in your consultation and feed this back to whoever you want to feed this back to. And they say, well, if we do that, then the services will call to a halt. But then what they provided you is what is going to happen anyway. Yeah, the services are cut to a bare minimum. But you say to them, well, could you include this as an alternative? It might not be taken up, but please, this is my view. This is a view coming from a carer. Oh, we can't include that because the services will come to a halt. Right? So basically what I'm trying to say is you're being put between a rock and a hard place. A lack of options. There should be a range of options which carers or service users can look at and say, well, all right, this seems feasible, this doesn't, this might work, this might not work. Do you see what I mean? You're given a range of options, or you're allowed to give them your range of options of what you would prefer at that meeting. This one, a very good one. I know it's really running long. I've got to avoid doing that, and to be honest, what I'm mentioning here is only about 2% of what tokenism is. Perhaps I'm going to do another one at a later date. Right, but basically with this one, it's the leap of bad faith. So basically, you come to a meeting or a project and you say, look, can a mental health carer be involved in this in this particular meeting or this particular project? And they reply, well, if a carer is going to be involved in this, then they'll start running the board. Well, most carers don't want to run the board. All they want to do is, what's happening at this meeting? Can I attend? Or what's this project that actually needs the views of carers? Literally. And yet there's no carers on it. So you say, well, hang on, can I, I want to nominate myself, or, that's an example, say myself, or your carer says, I want to nominate myself, or can someone nominate, if not just me, nominate another carer, but there should be a carer there. But if a carer comes to this meeting, then they're going to be chairing it the next day, and they're going to be deciding the funding, and then they're going to, we can't, no. So basically, this is more like, what they're trying to say is, everything's going to be a disaster. If a carer does get involved at a level, they're going to say they're going to take over everything, which is not really the case. Most carers don't want to do that. They just want to air the views. So just like the public want to air the views on certain things. I'm going to go to body language here. And this is something you should watch out for when you attend consultations, meetings, you've been on a project, and there's a lot of people around, workshops, things like that. It's not just Mental Health Trust, there's also other organisations that can be guilty of doing this. So body language, when someone does, when someone just does this, and they close, and they a pat from you, it doesn't seem inviting, does it? Yeah, you think, well, that can't be right. Why is everyone like this? I've not said anything yet. So that's something you ought to be aware of regarding if you ever go to a meeting. It means that you're not wanted, basically, or is someone. No, it doesn't happen often. I've seen this, but they just feel like, well, we don't really feel this person should be here. It's not just me, and just saying overall, this can happen. And if you do see it happen, you might think twice of perhaps going to that meeting. You might think, in fact, there's nothing wrong actually in raising it at these meetings. Saying, well, why is, it's meant to be a caring profession, mental health. So why do I get the feeling people are not, they tend to be hiding and they tend to be, that don't seem right. All right, this is a good one. Persuasion by emotion. So you say something. That might, carers do get things wrong. They do. We're human beings, but there's times when you might get something right, and you get the idea that they don't want to include it. So you're saying at this meeting, I think you should include this because it might make a difference here regarding this particular provision or this consultation. Oh, please. We can't include this because it will hurt the services or other service users might not like it, or other carers might. And they start doing the little tearful thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. You get the feeling that they're playing to your emotions, rather than logic. If they disagree with it, I'd rather that they logically sort of say, well, perhaps the reason why it can't be added. I'm sure as a carer, you have a good backbone to sort of take that on board and say, okay, fair enough, they can't include it or they can't take my views. But when someone appeals to your emotion, sometimes there are times when it might be needed, but it's very rare. It shouldn't be, not in that environment. And I remember what I said before. If you have a facilitator, they shouldn't be defensive over services because, for a start, they might not even be involved in the services. They might even be involved in running it. So why are they sort of saying, oh, we shouldn't really do that? Oh, Matthew, we shouldn't have this in there because if something happens, then and all this emotional rejection and something. I don't know the word for it, but it's trying to appeal to your emotions in order to sort of persuade you not to, or persuade you not to have your views added to that document. And now this is very, very common, this one that I'm going to mention. And I've seen mental health trusts literally take that person to one side because of what's happened, right? And I'll come out straight with it. At that meeting or on this project, usually it's at meetings anyway, the person loses their temper. And obviously there's no place, not just at mental health trust meetings, but also out in the community. When you sort of say, well, I think this is such, or when you're invited to air your views, the person will lose their rag, literally. They might not even think that they are. Sometimes I'm not aware, but, oh, why do you say this, and you don't know either, and why you, and you can't get your voice, and they are always, I wouldn't say always angry, but you get the feeling that they are, and they've been through a lot. Yeah, I understand that they've been through a lot, but in a mental health setting, that shouldn't really have a place for it. I know the excuse for it, I suppose, is I know that these people can be passionate about what is happening out there. It's unfortunate that those within the services suffer immensely. Not just the service user, the carer as well. And all right, the health professional, they do suffer. Sometimes they feel powerless. I'm not making an excuse, this does happen, but at meetings when people are not being emotional to you, they try to persuade you by being angry, trying to bully you. So this is something I'm saying to carers who do want to get involvement, and this doesn't always happen, but if it does, sometimes please raise it. Usually a good meeting will have a good chair. And it's not easy to chair meetings, and it's important to train the chair well. But then, when a meeting's bad, when the chair can't chair it, and the person is there is just making a noise, they will rant and they'll pick on you. and you think, well, what's the point? Yeah. All right. This video's running a bit too long now, so I think what I'm going to mention now is what happens after a meeting, which is very, very important. In fact, even more important than actually being there. So if you're invited to air views, if you attended a consultation, if you attended a hospital meeting regarding service in the hospital or in the community, what happens after that is even more important than attending the next meeting. And I'll give you some examples. So the meeting's finished. It's been a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3, and you hear nothing. So hang on a second. I've been to this meeting as a carer. I've given my views, and you're trying to chase up what they do in those views. So you're hearing nothing. The prime example is that you're there as a token. Someone's commissioned this meeting to happen. The person is getting paid well for facilitating and getting the views, and then they disappear. So what a waste. And this is quite, fairly common. It does happen. People are paid to get views, to disappear, no change, no reports back. Not just for that meeting. You want to see a difference. It's got to have an impact. It's got to have a culture change, which is again one point I'm about trying with care. It's a culture change for carers, service users, health professionals. I'm speaking at this as a care because that's my experience, and I don't want to push anyone out. We don't want to do that. We want to work together. But what we don't want to see is that views are taken, and then they disappear, and then lo and behold, a few months' time, the meeting happens again. Come along, carers, service users, public invited. You say the same thing as you said the last few months back, and then they disappear again. And you're thinking, well, we're going round in circles. Where's the impact? Where's the culture change? You see what I mean? So this is something you need to watch out for. And to be honest, don't come down hard on them because this has happened, because it might be a specific problem regarding resources on their side, or that staff member has left. They couldn't get the resources to get someone in again to do that work. There's a lot of reasons why this happens, but if it does happen, it's not a good thing. We need to work together. This is related to what I've just said. You also try to inquire about what has happened to all your views, and you don't get any response, or the response you get is, I forgot to set my auto response on when I went away on holiday. That those excuses are so tiring. Fair well that they're just not interested in giving you feedback or you following up, when the service should be designed. It should be scrambling for people who want to question what's happened to their views. Is it going to be implemented? Alright. I think this is perhaps the most damaging one I've come across. You've given your views, it's documented, but then when you do go through the documentation, or when they think you don't go through the documentation, they tend to change things. So what you said at that meeting was very important, and the others were present, and they think that you're not going to remember. You read the minutes and it's not there. Now, you may not think that this isn't serious, but they're saying when things come back to bite you, and this is a warning for people to sort of change documentation when others were present, and expect that they're not reading it, is very serious, because at a later meeting, at a later date, and someone says, why was this not documented when I said this, and now this is something that's happened out in the community, you're responsible. And they can't really turn around, because what will happen is there are other people at the meetings, well, yeah, I remember that. So I certainly advise those who hold consultations on a very important matter, don't fiddle with documentation. It does happen. That's why you had other professional bodies looking for things like that. And if it happens and you do notice documentation, you're given a minute, you're given a report, and your views are not there, it's taken out, then you know you're there as a token. One last thing I want to finish up, because I do feel I do rant on a bit, and I do talk a bit, and I want to try and get my message clear. And this is done on purpose sometimes. When I mention training regarding giving your views and working on projects as a carer, if you don't get that and you're asked to give your feedback regarding what issues are happening, and then on top of that you're given a 200-page document to read in a span of perhaps 2 weeks, then you know this is not going to work out. And now the NHS does suffer from a lot of jargon problems. That's why they do a lot of projects regarding plain English. So they expect you to sort of make a difference. And this is related to the bar set too high. They're giving you huge reams of documentation in order to sort of silence you, because you're just going to be so confused. You don't know where to pinpoint things out. You know, you're going to be, most of the time you're going to be buried in paper. You're going to be drowned in paper. So this is something you should watch out for. If it happens a lot, then you should start really questioning, well, why is all this huge reams of document, why is it mentioned here? Who's going to read all that? It's too much. Anyway, this is just 5 to 2%, I suppose, 2 to 5% of what I mean by tokens, and I will perhaps follow this up with another video regarding what you need to watch out for if you attend meetings, consultations, even a forum. I suppose I've got a few that I'm setting up, because I know as one person you can't really expect much to change. You've got to, if I could say it this way, raise literally an army of carers to say, you have a platform. I'm going to say, well, hang on a second, something's not right, or we want to hear our views. And I always am weary that if a trust does not have a platform for the Latin community to hear the views, something is desperately wrong, because they should, if they provide services to the community, they should answer to that community. They get a lot of money, so it's important as a carer, if you can, for someone, do go to these meetings, find out what's happening, where they are. If you can't attend one, I'm sure there's others you can try and attend that later. Air your views, but also be very aware that you do not want to be a token carer, and it does happen. Anyway, as I said, I'm going to sign off from this video. Please subscribe or comment in my video. Check out my blog sites. I've got a website. I also have a mental health newspaper and 2 Twitter channels, one for mental health, one for my personal carer campaigning, and also have podcasts as well. So I hope to see you next time, and have a good caring journey.